One of the most perplexing and frustrating things about the work that we do is that all of a sudden somebody will come in to save their relationship, to get help and support, and then the relationship blows sky high, not because they aren't learning and progressing, but because they waited too long.
Hey, thank you for coming. Welcome to the Love Shack.
So moving on, another common mistake is letting conflicts go unresolved. So talking about challenging things, let's be honest, is hard. And the biggest reason that they're hard is because we don't have a lot of really great examples of going through conflict and having it go well. So by nature, because of our families of origin and what we see playing out in the world around us, is we tend to withhold things that we're afraid to talk about. So if I don't have a lot of skills and awareness and acumen and experience that help me understand that stepping into this conflict is actually going to resolve it, then I'm going to have a tendency to not want to resolve it at all. And then that just puts me in a place where I'm crossing my fingers and just hope that this is going to go well. And this sets us up for frustration, resentment, out, a cycle of fighting that escalates. Like, this is how that all happens, is I'm unwilling to, or don't know how to, or terrified of addressing the conflicts from our past experience.
I was going to say, how often do we all hear, we seem to be having these conversations and we just go around and around and around. Yeah, you do.
And that's why, is because we don't know how to get through the conflict, and we don't have great examples in regards to what that looks like to getting through to the other side.
I would also say that couples who say that they never fight, it's not because they have no conflict, it's because they're avoiding any conflict.
Mm-hmm. I love that, Brooke. Thanks for bringing that one up, because the net result of saying, oh, we never fight, they fall out of love. That's what happens. It's over. So your relationship will end. Sure, you don't have anybody pointing at a certain thing that was said or done that was egregious, that was a quasi fight. You avoided all of that magically. But what's also going to happen is there is no emotional connection. There is no concept us in the co-creation of life.
That's a major flat line.
Major flat line. Because that's what you're going to have to do to avoid conflict is just not engage, not share how you really feel or what you're thinking or what you're wanting or needing. So we just pretend everything is okay until there's nothing left of our relationship. Yeah. So that one's not going to save you.
Brooke, do you remember this one? And when I was you and your brother, life is not without disappointment, right? And nor is it in our special relationship. It's not without disappointment. It's going to happen.
So how do you avoid this? You've got to learn the skills that are necessary to address conflicts when they arise. Things like initiate a do-over immediately. Don't sit on it. You can do this and then discuss it openly and find resolutions together. And yes, it's going to take skill. It's going to take practice. It's going to probably take support, because until we get the support we need, we're going to be terrified of doing it. So what are we going to do? We're not going to do it at all. Once you get to an experience where you've gotten through even just a small conflict to see that you can pop out on the other side, then it's like, oh my gosh, that really worked. Holy cow. Okay. They're always going to probably make your armpits sweat. However, the more experiences and examples you have of getting through them, the more likely you are to step into them.
Also, let's just be real here. You're not going to be able to do this on your own. Like, you're not going to be able to say, okay, we avoid conflict, and then all of a sudden you're going to become an amazing conflict resolution team. You need help. So how do you get help? You join the Better Love Club. Go to thebetterloveclub.com. All the information is there. If you want to join us for a Monday night class and test us out for $35, email us love@stacibartley.com. We'll get you set up. Yes, listening to this episode is the first step in getting better at these things, but listening to a 40-minute episode is not going to be all that you need to start doing these things on your own, because you're going to make messes when you try to clean them up. So as funny as that sounds, like, yeah, you're gonna try to get better at relationships, but when we do that, just like when you try to learn how to ride a bike, you fall down, the same thing happens here. So why don't you set yourself up for success by putting support in place on the front side, so that when you start to get better at these things, you have someone there like us three to help you and guide you and make it okay when you fall down, and you can get back up so much quicker.
I love that. And I'm going to stack on that, if I may. One of the most perplexing and frustrating things about the work that we do is that all of a sudden somebody will come in to save their relationship, to get help and support, and then the relationship blows sky high, not because they aren't learning and progressing, but because they waited too long. There's just too much depletion of what we call the emotional capacity to pour into saving it, the work of actually rolling up your sleeves and practicing. Everybody's exhausted. So the relationship blows sky high, and then everybody goes, okay, we're good. And I go, wait a minute. No, you're going to probably get into a relationship again, right? And don't you want to just understand what happened from the past so that you can get better at it going forward? We just talked about that. Like, learn from the past and the mistakes that were made, because that's going to highlight for you what it is we need to understand and improve going forward so that we can get better at this thing called love, not repeat the same old stuff goes on and on again. It's kind of like all of a sudden the emotional pain of it gets alleviated and we go, oh, okay, we're good. Just recognize and realize you're still stuck at your same skill level. And the likelihood, especially if you don't understand where the missteps were and the interplay of what was going on, yes, you're going to fool around and fall in love with somebody else, and you're going to find yourself in a very similar situation, right? Different face, different circumstances. The emotion of it all is the same.
I would say that what you just described. So yeah. So if I heard you correctly, meaning you come into the Better Love Club as a couple, a husband and wife or whatever. And then yes, look, sometimes people decide that they're not going to be able to stay together. We're all about it, having it go well. That's a conversation time. But so that happens. And you're saying like, and we have this, don't quit. That's really the best opportunity for you to understand, gosh, I don't want to continue to make those same mistakes going forward. And even when people swear with the phone to me that I'm never going to get back into a relationship, I will say with great love and respect, yes, you will. Yes, you will.
And also, no matter how much we love to think all the problems were our partner, okay, I'm breaking up with this person, so everything's going to be fine now. You'll be shocked and saddened to see that the same problems are going to follow you into the next relationship. It takes two to tango. So those same problems, maybe they will be a little different. The parts that you contributed in, because we all do, we all contribute issues into our relationships, whether or not we like it. Those are still going to be there. So why not set yourself up for success and learn how to navigate them as they show up, rather than waiting till your relationship is almost going to end again?
What's your quote about the scene of the crime?
Oh, there's always someone hanging around the scene of the crime, and that someone is you.
Oh,
Regardless of how it went down, things that you're not wanting to face or look at or work with, and you think because of we tend to, I call it the fart in the room. If I feel like I'm doing my best, then there's only one other person in this relationship, and that's you, so it must be your fault. And we can get on a bandwagon of blame there, and it's easy for any of us to do if we're not mindful of it. And while you guys were sharing too, I was traveling back in my own mind's eye about some of the disbeliefs that I had about where I would find myself again and again and again in relationships. And guys, it took me 7 not married people, but 7 relationships or 7 significant emotional rounds to understand that I was very much a participating part of the problem. And thank goodness I kept working with it. Relationships have always been my jam as far back as I can remember, because of the death of my dad. I recognize and realize they're exceptionally important. Like, they are the most important thing in life. I had the privilege of learning that at a very young age, but even though I had that awareness, then there was still me showing up in them and learning what worked and that didn't work. And I was a huge pleaser. And so I would get into relationships and I had a lot of confidence and ability and strength. I loved a project, and I come to find out that I loved a project because it made me feel better about myself when I was in a tremendous place of self-doubt about wondering if I was good enough and I could do it and trying to clean up past mistakes. I would find myself in relationships where I wanted to be the stronger person that could love the pants off of somebody, and I'd make it really good for them. And when we'd get navigating life, and I would slowly but surely like flatline and lose my zest for life, and felt like I was overwhelmed with the necessary needs of trying to make somebody else happy while my own needs weren't being met. And I didn't feel like I was good enough to get my own needs met. So I wouldn't ask for them. I wouldn't advocate for them. I would just buy into this idea that if I kept pleasing and loving with all of my heart, then finally the tables were going to turn, and then I would be loved and I would get my needs met. I mean, obviously you should be able to see, right? And then I'd get angry because I would think I'm giving all of this to you and I'm doing all of this for us and I'm making this work for everyone and I am falling apart. This is not fair. And then I would get exhausted and I would end the relationship and they would be going, why do you want to end this relationship? It's the greatest relationship I've ever been in. And I'm thinking, for you. And I kept thinking it was the person without realizing it was the way I was setting it up. It was the place I was living inside of myself. And it was very much coming from, I'm not good enough. So I need to prove my worth. I need to get it right. I need to please. I need to overgive, overextend. And like I said, that took me 7 to understand and recognize
and just
that.
realize. So this is why we're so passionate, and it doesn't have to take you 7. If it does, it's okay. But the point here is everything we do is to shorten the process. It's all about creating new momentum. Why? Because you will absolutely guaranteed run out of gas at some point in time.
What I would have done for somebody to just help me explain that and help me see that maybe after relationship 2, 1, I would dismiss it for sure. We do. Oh yeah, it was totally them. 2, you kind of start to go, wait a minute. How come this feels a lot like
back
the
to
last?
back to the quote you just shared.
Yeah.
There's a common denominator in this, and it's me.
And if somebody would have at that point said, look, let me help you see this. Let me help you understand how relationships work. Let me understand how you're setting it up and where you need to take responsibility for what's happening here. Oh my gosh, that would have been such a lifesaver.
And to sum it all up, what you are going to do is what I did, where I got a divorce and had a ton of unresolved issues. And then I was yelling at my new partner for what I should have resolved in my past relationship.
Yep, that happens too. I'm sure I've done that. I'm sure you as our listener has done that. That's how these things continue to play out over and over and over again. And here's the thing. Relationships really do have a wonderful aspect to them that very few of us get to live in. And it's because we won't take the time to study them and learn them and practice what's required in order for us to be more successful with them. All of the signs and opportunity is there. It's just we won't take it. We won't look at it. We won't do a deep dive and practice. And until we're willing to do that, we're not going to get better at love, just like we wouldn't get better at anything else we didn't spend any time with. So just recognize and realize the principles that govern life apply to relationships as well. And so that's why we as a team just become really brokenhearted and disappointed when people go, oh, the relationship blew up. So I'm good now. They're gone. The problem is gone. No, it's not. This is that moment where I wish I could have found somebody to say, let me help you understand what just played out.
And I would say it's exactly why we have set up our Better Love Club very strategically, how life typically happens, meaning you can maybe start as a couple and then something happens, or you could not start as a couple, and because usually 2 people at the same time don't raise their hands. So there's so many things that we have built into it because we're trying to do everything we can as how things normally go, not story. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you're individual or you're a couple, we're going to be in a relationship because that's what the numbers tell us. So this is also a long play. Like Staci said, what other part of life that you've had success in? I would challenge you. Has it been without what I call the currency of commitment? Time, money, focus, energy? No, not for me. Well, so that's great news. I always remind people because that's what's available. If you apply that same currency to your relationship, you will have success. Now, just like other successes, it's not without bumps in the road, but they make you stronger. Let's just be fair. So that's a good news. It's a good news message. It's good news. So roll up your sleeves and join us.
All right. Our final mistake. We should probably move on to that.
Let's go. Last one here.
And so the final mistake is neglecting your partner's needs. That's a mistake because we start to say, I'm more entitled to get my needs met than you are because of what you've done or what you've said or didn't do or say that I've been waiting around to hear. And essentially what we start doing is we dismiss them. And the reality is you don't understand them and you struggle with meeting their needs. And yeah, I get it. My needs aren't being met. I just shared a story, actually a tale of many years where I would find myself in this very same conversation. I would give and give and give, and then I wouldn't get my needs met. And so I'd stop giving and I'd start pushing them away. And then I'd start meeting my own needs, but none of this is communicated. None of this is vetted out. It's all a mechanism that's happening in my own mind and rationale. And I could find evidence to support any and all of it. And so then I would stop meeting my partner's needs and I'd start pushing them out and realize if we're talking co-creation, which is what a relationship is, the minute I'm starting to push either one of us out, I pull away myself or I push my partner out, we're no longer in co-creation anymore. And it's a huge mistake that we make. Now, I'm not professing that you have to overextend or overget like I did in a relationship to not make this mistake. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to learn how to advocate for your own needs and wants and you need to allow your partner to do the same. And it's kind of like going back to that give first, give fast thing. It's that there's a give and a receive on both sides. And we need to do this in regards to getting our emotional needs met as well, because dismissing them is going to break our relationship down even further. And this can all be avoided by recognizing I have needs that I can talk about and share with you. And I'm still open, even though we're going through a difficult time, to do my best to meet the needs that I know are critically important to you as well. And I bet if you surveyed 100 couples, or gosh, let's even make it a smaller pool. 100's good. Let's go with 100. Changing my mind here. I bet if you surveyed 100 couples, out of those 100 couples, very few would even know what the emotional needs of their partner are. They're going to talk to you about where their emotional needs aren't getting met. And then they're going to profess that they've actually shared them with their partner. And in doing so, that's the conversation that entitles them to dismiss, belittle, criticize, push away, shut down. And so we can really get stuck in this conversation instead of genuinely having a conversation, as we talked about before, really understanding in the specifics of what it is you emotionally need, and then us practicing to meet those conversations don't happen.
And you're not looking to figure your partner out, right? You're simply creating the space where he or she can share with what's going on. Most of the time, we're not looking for advice. We're simply looking to be heard.
My favorite question is, how can I support you? What's going on for you? And then here's how you can support me if you're willing.
And I think we get confused because many times our partner's needs are not the same as ours. So that's why it can be maybe easy to dismiss them. Well, if we truly love our special someone, then I want to know what Staci needs, because we always say, I want to get back to the good stuff as fast as possible. That's really the whole point here, is let's get through the mess so we can get back to the good stuff as quickly as possible. If there's anything we maybe do differently than anybody else, we're human just like everyone, is we're good at cleaning up the messes pretty darn quickly. I want to get back to the good stuff quickly and efficiently. And we've done it thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and we'll continue to do it thousands and thousands and thousands of times.
And here's the kicker. If I feel like my emotional needs are met, like that of support, that we're on the same team, that we're in this together, we can be going through a very challenging time. And I'm not going to want to leave the relationship. I only want to leave the relationship when I feel like my emotional needs are not being met. Because if my emotional needs are being met, we're going to make it through the kids and the financial challenges and the work issues and the household tasks. We're going to find a way, because if my emotional needs are met as a human being, I want to stick around. I really want to stick around. So I think we overstep this very simple principle very, very often, and we don't give it the time and attention that it deserves. The emotional needs and the meeting of those, the continuous dialogue about meeting them and how I might get better, is truly where the gold is.
Well, and it's important because they're always going to be changing too. That's why this is a very long play, right? Come on. We're navigating times that none of us have ever lived through in every facet of our life. So the stakes are going to get higher. I don't know what's going to change in the future, but what I know for sure is we're going to get really good at this because of the magnitude and the pace of what's coming at us in other places.
And here's the final thought on this is, if you allow your partner to really teach you how to love them best, like really how to meet their emotional needs, there's two parts to this. I've got to do that digging within inside of myself to be able to teach you that. And very few of us are willing to do that. That's an important, worthy goal. And then being open and ready for my partner to teach me that without thinking I know better, I know what they need, or dismissing what it is they say they need because it's not something I need. Be mindful of those things. Literally, it's at this moment I can show up and love them in a way that they truly desire. Even though it might not be my way, it's not about me if I'm trying to meet my partner's needs. It's about them feeling like they have what they need, and it's going to be different than what you need. And these conversations don't happen all that often. Out of that 100, I would bet 1% of all couples have the conversations about truly meeting our needs. We think we're talking about meeting my needs by my criticism, my belittling, my shutting down, banging on you to, you never talk to me anymore. You never bring me flowers anymore. You never take me out on a date anymore. That's not what we're talking about. I'm saying, if you could say these words and hold me like this, that would make a world of difference for me.
Well, I can say it's one of the top things we hear when people are having trouble, that their needs are not getting met. So we know that it's not happening a lot, because a majority of people that come and work with us, that's one of the main reasons why, because they want to learn how to overcome this challenge. It's happening all the time.
Yeah. And we spend a lot of time in our sessions helping couples get very specific about what that emotional need is. And the conversation always starts out as a blank stare. because we don't think about finding those things out for ourselves. What is it really that you would want to hear or experience physically, mentally, emotionally that would make all the difference and help you exhale? And then what are the words I need to use to teach my partner about those things? And then we need to literally practice. It's amazing when we do this in session where we'll start to work with it, and one person in the relationship will express what it is they specifically need, and then the other partner will go to simply say it back, and they can't. It's like this brain fog that sets in, and all of a sudden they can't remember what to say or what to do. And guys, this is simple things like, I just want you to reassure me that you'll listen to me, or I just want you to bend over and give me a kiss or a hug. And it's like all of a sudden there's this part of our brain that starts to spin out of control, and we have a blackout until we can go, settle in. Okay. Don't try and dress it up. Just give it back exactly as you heard it. And as simple as that sounds, emotionally, we travel places, right? Because it's just so new and different. So learning how to meet emotional needs is huge. And it's a big mistake that we make because we don't realize how important and valuable it is. And when clients walk out of my office and those emotional needs have finally been met, I just want to point out the circumstances of our life didn't change, but boy, do they feel better about things right now in that moment. So it's really powerful stuff that we totally negate. And just like we've already said today in this episode, more on these topics that we've talked about, overcoming these mistakes, is absolutely found and shared inside of the Better Love Club. And we have a whole pillar dedicated to emotional weightlifting, for example, and a whole pillar dedicated to communication, and several ways for you to learn how to teach your partner how to love you best. So you can join today by going to thebetterloveclub.com. And I think, as we've highlighted already, but I think it deserves an exclamation point, please don't wait. If you're struggling and you're finding that you're relating and resonating with many of the mistakes that we've talked about, or even one of the mistakes that we've talked about in today's episode, then please check it out sooner rather than later. Don't sit on it, because the reality is we don't end relationships because there's not potential and things that are possible going forward into our future. We end them because we simply run out of emotional gas to work on it. We sit and wait until we're just completely exhausted. Okay, guys, I think now it's time for a little bit of fun. Follow the fun moment. I'm titling Reassure Me with the Little Things. I thought that would be a natural lead in to, because the last thing we just talked about was meeting your partner's needs.
We always do follow the fun because we want to remind you always that you can, wherever you're navigating, you can always put that on the shelf, so to speak, and have some fun, because novelty and play, if you've listened to us, is very important. And usually the first thing gets thrown right out the window.
Yep, it's true.
Don't let that happen.
So here's the thing. As human beings, we all need reassurance. As mighty and confident and self-assured as we feel like we are, we all have moments as a human being where our armpits get a little sweaty and our knees feel like they're buckling. And words and deeds, when done in a thoughtful manner, validate the fact and remind me that you love me, that I matter, that I count, and that you thought of me today, is a huge demonstration that reminds us, oh my gosh, you thought of me today. I must matter. You really do love me. It is this need for reassurance that often creates upsets when you forget the little things that matter to your partner. This is why they get plugged in, and then they start needing it more because they're looking for some demonstration or some piece of reassurance that they're thought of, that they count, and that they matter to you, and that this relationship that you're in matters to you. So when we ignore something our partners consider important, they absolutely are going to feel ignored and dismissed, and this is going to spike their fears and insecurities. So today, I want to bring your focus and awareness to a little thing, right? A little thing that you can actually think about that would bring your partner some sense of assurance because you thought about them. What are you aware of right now that you could surprise your person with that would assure them that you thought of them and that they matter to you? Is it flowers for no reason? Is it baking their favorite batch of cookies? Is it finally picking up and surprising them with those tickets to that concert that they've been talking about endlessly for weeks? Is it a dinner that's made, the house being cleaned, or the settling of the children so that you whisk them away in a night out or an evening? Maybe that night out is directly to your bedroom or some kind of a private space. Whatever it is that will make them realize that they're thought of and that you love them and that they matter, I promise if you'll do those little things, it will go a long, long way to giving them the reassurance and the validation that they're longing for. And here's the thing I know about being a human being. We all need more moments like that, and we just don't know how to ask for them. So when they just happen because I'm bringing this awareness to you today, take action on this. Don't let it just slip by as yet another great idea that you don't take action on, especially if you're struggling in your relationship, because I promise it will absolutely reassure them that they are thought of and valued. And who doesn't want more of that?
Amen. So what are we feeling?
So today, yes.
I know what we're feeling because I watched it. Stayed me happy watch it before we were doing this recording.
Tell us who it is.
Oh, man.
What's the name of the song?
Happy People.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you please. I respectfully and lovingly request you to watch this because it's really, I wasn't aware of these awesome musicians, and the setting of it is it's just very simple. It's on somebody's front yard. That's all I'll tell you. But man, I would like to be walking down our neighborhood and see this happen on somebody's front yard.
Yes, the song comes from Teddy Swims and Jack Ross. Title of the song is called Happy People. And the song says, I wish I could be like happy people, but I'm suffering inside and losing my mind. These smiles and happy people remind me of you. Time after time, I've made my mistakes, overcoming bad memories. I just want to be happy. I just want to be like happy people. So it's such a lighthearted, feel-good song. These musicians are incredible. And I think it's just a perfect song to help us feel what it is we're imparting today for you. So go check it out. You can do that by going to our website or checking us out on Spotify. We have a Love Shack playlist on Spotify that you can search up.
Love Shack Live playlist.
So that's it, guys. 5 common relationship mistakes and how to avoid them. Remember, no relationship is perfect. We all make mistakes, that's for sure. But with these tips, you can navigate your relationship journey more smoothly. And if you found this video and this podcast episode helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful relationship advice just like this. So until next time, keep loving and learning. We do that right here inside the Love Shack. Bye-bye for now.
All right, it's time to leave the Love Shack. But before we part ways, we want you to know our door is always open and we'll leave the porch light on, ready to welcome you back whenever you need a dose of relationship wisdom. For more resources and tools, visit us at loveshacklive.com.